The world watches as Ukraine burns. A nation fights for its survival against a powerful aggressor. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is not just a geopolitical crisis. It is a human tragedy of immense proportions. This war, unfolding on European soil, echoes the darkest chapters of the 20th century. This essay explores the complex tapestry of the Ukrainian War. It examines the historical tensions that laid the groundwork for this conflict. It delves into the political and social dynamics of the war, looking at the key players in the global response. Finally, it reflects on the broader implications of this war and the possible paths toward resolution. The roots of the conflict run deep. Ukraine and Russia share a long and intertwined history, marked by periods of both cooperation and conflict. The two nations share cultural and linguistic ties, but their relationship has been marred by Ukraine's struggle for independence and Russia's desire for control. The 20th century saw Ukraine suffer under Soviet rule. Millions perished in the Holodomor, a man-made famine engineered by Stalin's regime to crush Ukrainian resistance. This dark chapter left deep scars on the Ukrainian psyche, fueling a lasting distrust of Russian dominance. Ukraine's independence in 1991 marked a new era. However, the long shadow of Russian influence remained. The Orange Revolution of 2004 and the Euromaidan protests of 2014 demonstrated Ukraine's aspiration for a democratic future free from Russian interference. These events set the stage for the current conflict as Russia sought to reassert its dominance over its neighbor. On February 24, 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This unprovoked attack sent shockwaves across the globe. Russian forces, under the pretext of denazification and demilitarization, bombarded Ukrainian cities, targeting civilian infrastructures and residential areas. Millions of Ukrainians fled their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries. Cities like Mariupol and Kharkiv were reduced to rubble, bearing witness to the brutality of the Russian offensive. The invasion triggered a humanitarian crisis of immense scale, leaving millions displaced and in desperate need of aid. The world reacted with condemnation. International sanctions were imposed on Russia, targeting its economy and leadership. Military aid poured into Ukraine, bolstering its defense against the invasion. The war quickly escalated into a proxy conflict, with the West supporting Ukraine and Russia facing increasing international isolation. Despite being outgunned and outmanned, the Ukrainian people mounted a fierce resistance. Ordinary citizens took up arms alongside the Ukrainian military, determined to defend their homeland. Stories of courage and sacrifice emerged from the besieged cities and war-torn villages. Teachers, shopkeepers, and IT specialists became soldiers overnight. Farmers used their tractors to tow away captured Russian tanks. Grandmothers baked bread for soldiers on the front lines. The war transformed Ukrainian society, uniting people from all walks of life in a common struggle for survival. The Ukrainian resistance became a symbol of defiance against tyranny. Their determination, fueled by a deep love for their country, inspired people around the world. The spirit of the Ukrainian people, their unwavering belief in freedom and democracy, offered a powerful counterpoint to the narratives of fear and oppression propagated by the Kremlin. The international community responded to the invasion with a mix of condemnation and support for Ukraine. The United States, the European Union, and numerous other countries imposed severe economic sanctions on Russia, targeting its financial institutions, energy sector, and key individuals. NATO, while avoiding direct military intervention, provided Ukraine with significant military aid. Weapons, ammunition, and intelligence sharing bolstered the Ukrainian defense, enabling them to hold back the Russian advance. Humanitarian aid flowed into Ukraine and neighboring countries, providing essential support to refugees and those displaced by the conflict. The war in Ukraine had profound global implications. It shattered the post-Cold War order, raising fears of a new era of great power conflict. It highlighted the fragility of international law and the urgent need for global cooperation in addressing the challenges posed by aggressive authoritarian regimes. The war in Ukraine evokes haunting parallels to the darkest chapters of European history. The images of bombed-out cities, fleeing refugees, and mass graves recall the horrors of World War II. The Russian invasion, launched under false pretenses and characterized by indiscriminate attacks on civilians, echoes the expansionist policies of Nazi Germany. The Kremlin's propaganda machine, churning out disinformation and historical revisionism, mirrors the tactics employed by totalitarian regimes of the past. This war serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked aggression and the importance of defending democratic values against authoritarian threats. The Ukrainian conflict highlights the timeless struggle between freedom and oppression. It underscores the need for vigilance against the erosion of democratic norms and the importance of collective action in defending the rules-based international order. As the war rages on, the quest for justice becomes paramount. Documenting war crimes committed in Ukraine is crucial for holding perpetrators accountable and ensuring that history does not repeat itself. International organizations, human rights groups, and journalists are working tirelessly to gather evidence of atrocities. The International Criminal Court, ICC, has opened an investigation into war crimes and crimes against humanity in Ukraine. Evidence of targeted killings, torture, sexual violence, and other heinous acts continues to emerge. Establishing accountability for these crimes is essential for deterring future atrocities and upholding the principles of international law. The pursuit of justice is not only about punishment, it is about acknowledging the suffering of the victims and offering them a path toward healing and reconciliation. It is about sending a clear message that such crimes will not be tolerated and that those responsible will be held accountable for their actions. The war in Ukraine is a watershed moment in modern history. It has reshaped the geopolitical landscape, exposed the vulnerabilities of the international system, and unleashed a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions. The outcome of this conflict remains uncertain, but its impact will be felt for generations to come. The Ukrainian people, through their resilience and unwavering spirit, have shown the world the true meaning of courage and the power of unity in the face of adversity. Their fight for freedom and democracy serves as an inspiration to people around the globe. The war in Ukraine is a stark reminder that peace is fragile and that the defense of freedom requires constant vigilance. It is a call to action for the international community to stand united against aggression, uphold the principles of international law, and work towards a future where such conflicts are relegated to the history books.